कैसे हो दोस्तों? I gave my GDPI for the BM course at XLRI Jamshedpur on March 19, 2024. The actual process began with the group discussions, and this had a total of 8 participants and 3 moderators. Each participant was given 2 pieces of paper. One of the paper had the GD topic written on it and the other piece of paper was blank, which we used to structure our thoughts on the GD topic. For my panel, the topic for group discussion was given on the balance of materialism and spiritualism. It was something like mindless pursuit of material ambition is increasingly leading to unsustainable lifestyles, but also becoming spiritual drives us towards escapism. So, how can we achieve a balance between the material needs and the spiritual needs of our individuality? The panel gave us 3 minutes to think and structure our thoughts, and 15 minutes in total to speak. At the end of 15 minutes, the panel asked each one of us to summarize the discussion in our words, and in my turn I quoted a quote from Bhagavad Gita on Karma Yoga, in which Krishna is offering spiritual knowledge to Arjun, who is a prince. Prince means a material king, right? He is not a monk. So I use that example to demonstrate that detachment is not when you own nothing, it is when nothing owns you. Something on these lines. Next, my interview started immediately because I was the first person on my panel. So there were 3 panel members. The first panel member started asking questions. The first question was, please rank all the members in the GD as per their performance. To be honest, I never expected this question, and that too as the first question. So I was honestly taken a bit back. The next question was, what improvement in GD could you have made? Again, I found this question to be very different. I answered that, sir, there could be a better structure followed during a group discussion, but content wise I found the GD topic to be very interesting, and this discussion also addressed a question which I myself had in my heart for a very long time. The next question they asked me was that, did you love your subject of metallurgy during your BTech? I said that, sir, I cannot use the word love, but I explored and pursued my field of metallurgy to my best abilities. I scored not only a 8 CGPA but also published research papers and represented my college in international conferences in my academic discipline. So, with respect to my branch, I think I pursued it with utmost dedication, but when the time came to think about my long-term career, I realized that my creativity is more fueled by business subjects and public policy subjects. So that is why I didn't pursue an MTech in metallurgy and rather chose the field of finance. Next question, with respect to academics, they asked me different heat, and they asked me iron and steel making process, which is a very standard question if you are from a metallurgical background. They also asked me different heat treatment processes, are again a very standard question. One question was that they asked me the ranking of India's exports in iron and steel industry. I had received a similar question in the IIT Delhi interview, so I was very well prepared on this question also. Then they asked me that what is your favorite chapter in mathematics, and I replied arithmetic. This was one of the biggest blunders I did. I could see a sense of disappointment in their eyes when I said arithmetic. They said then that being an engineer, and that too from an NIT, they were expecting me to answer something like calculus or linear algebra. But moving on, they started to ask a question on the topic of statistics. I was able to handle the questions with respect to measuring of central tendencies by mean, median and mode, but when they asked advanced questions with respect to regression and correlation, I could not answer those questions. So this was one of my learnings and recommendations also, that please study topics of mathematics, especially if you are from an engineering background. Next question, why did you pursue a job in finance after 4 years in engineering? I replied that, sir, it was one of the most coveted roles in campus placements, and also that I had an interest in finance and public policy, and this job gave me an opportunity to advance my interests in finance and public policy. With this, the panel 1 member concluded, and the panel 2 member, a lady in her 30s or 40s, started to ask questions. The first question was, why did you do UPSC? So this is one of the most commonly asked questions to me and has been asked in almost all interviews. I gave a very well prepared answer with respect to that. I had an interest in geopolitics and public policy, and also an aspiration to be part of the Indian diplomacy. Next, they asked me what were my favorite subjects during my civil services preparation, to which I replied polity and international relations. So they asked me a very interesting question, that tell me, by coming to give an interview, you are forced to like breathe in air pollution because the air pollution in Delhi is very high. So by living in Delhi, which has high air pollution, which of your fundamental right is being violated? I remembered Article 21, which has right to life and personal dignity as one of the fundamental rights, and this includes a right to have a clean environment to live in. So I answered, sir, Article 21. So they seemed satisfied. The next question was equally interesting. They asked me that you have an interest in international affairs and geopolitics. What has been the energy policy of Europe post the Russia-Ukraine war? So this was like, I keep on listening to Dr. S. Jaishankar, our current honorable foreign minister, and he had addressed one such question in an interview. So I remembered that. I exactly used his ideas into answering this question. I said, sir, though there has been a shift towards green energy on the global platform, but this war has made the calculations to be done from the start again, and this has been seen in the European countries reverting back to fossil fuels as the main source of their energy, and the impact on India has also been seen in the increase of fuel prices. So then they asked me a very interesting question, which like may sound a bit controversial. They said that Israel is receiving a lot of international criticism for how it is attacking Palestine and Hamas. If you were in the shoes of the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, would you also declare war? Is he doing the right thing? So I said that I would have done the exact same thing what Benjamin is doing. As a Prime Minister, it is my first duty to eliminate any organization that dares to conduct terrorist attack on my citizens. In a war, the only objective is victory, because without victory, there is no survival. So I would have done the same what PM Benjamin Netanyahu is doing to win the war, and do so unapologetically. Then the next question they asked me was, suppose you are the head of the United Nations Human Rights Organization, what would be your response in this case? I then replied that I would advocate to arrive at a ceasefire as soon as possible and get the warring parties on the negotiating table to end the conflict with dialogue and diplomacy. They asked me a very penetrating counter question, that why did you change your stance from advocating war to now advocating ceasefire? भैया अपना stance क्यों बदल लिया? पहले तो बोले थे कि war करोगे, अब बोल रहे हो कि ceasefire करोगे, ऐसा क्यों हुआ? So my response was that based on the status and role I have been given, my decision is driven. As the Prime Minister, it is my top duty to safeguard the interests of my citizens and country, and to avenge any attempt at denigrating the dignity of my people. But as the head of human rights organization, it is my top most priority to prevent wars from escalating and bring the warring parties to diplomatic tables. So I think this answered satisfied them, and thus we then moved on to the last panel member. The first question they asked me was, Divyansh, what is the biggest challenge that you have faced? And I replied that, sir, the biggest challenge I have faced is improving my communication skills. So again, they expected a single event and not a process oriented answer. So I think what they were expecting, that I reply or I tell them about a experience which challenged me, and not a continuous process which continues to challenge me. So the next question they asked me, how did you manage it? I mentioned about writing or Toastmasters. I have tried to read more and more and I have expanded my reading range so that I always have good and quality content to speak, and I have learned to write essays in order to organize my thoughts and improve my articulation. And also I have joined different public platforms like Toastmasters so that I can actually practice my oratory skills in front of live audience. So the next question they asked me was, what is your backup plan in case you fail? So I told them, sir, I have already converted Narsi Mohanji and IMT. Coincidentally, the results of SP Jain were also declared on the 19th, but at that point of time I didn't know that I have qualified for SP Jain. Otherwise I would have definitely said that I will join SP Jain in case nothing else works out. एक और बात जो मैंने उन लोगों को नहीं बताई वो थी मेरे CAPF में सिलेक्शन, because I didn't want them to ask questions from there. Simply I think that we should not reveal all the cards which we have and keep them hidden so that we can use them to our advantage. The next question they asked me was, what are my different other calls, and I replied that, sir, I have calls from IT Delhi, Madras, Kharagpur, CAP calls, IFT and MDI and SPJ. So the last question they asked me was tell me one reason that a person may be rejected in interview. So this was a question which I actually got in one of my mock PIs. So I was very well prepared, and I answered that, sir, in case the panel member finds a more deserving candidate than I am, then I think it would be fair for the panel to select that candidate over me. So they seemed a bit satisfied with that answer, and this answer brought my interview to an end. Now I will share 3 tips from my experience. First of all would be that XLRI loves to ask questions from mathematics, especially if you are from a science and engineering background. So I recommend that please prepare topics of statistics and probability, and if possible calculus also, and please revise them so that you are very well prepared to handle any questions from mathematics. I got a chance, but I answered arithmetic and thus lost a very good chance to make an impression. The second tip I would give is that please prepare your graduation subjects well. I thought that since I have a work experience and also a 5-year experience of UPSC preparation, they would not ask questions from metallurgy, or so I could have answered these questions from my academic, from my BTech much better had I prepared them well. So that is my second tip. Please prepare your academics along with your work ex. And the last tip which I have is that please give physical mock GD and PIs. The mistake I did was that I gave all my mock PIs online and all my mock GDs also online. I think this had a role to play because I could not perform my best during my GD and PI for XLRI. Had I given more mocks physically, I think my performance would have been better. I hope that my experience of GDPI at XLRI and also the tips which I gave will be useful for the future aspirants. Please use the documents that I have shared in the description to prepare for GD and PI for the ZAT 2024. All the best.